Hey Logan, sorry this took me so long. I'm finally getting around to checking out these animations and giving you some feedback on them. So I'm just going to kind of go through them one at a time. Okay, let's check this out from the front and from the side. Actually, I think from the front, this is looking pretty good. Uh, so I'm always reluctant when I see a walk cycle where the feet are pointing straight forward all the time and not uh, sort of angling the toe out. But in this case, it almost makes sense because he's a robot. So I don't know. I would consider trying to angle them out a little bit, but it looks like that at least at these three joints, they all should be locked. Which to me seems like that would make it a kind of a hard. Unless this is a ball joint here at the ankle, it seems like it would make it kind of hard to animate. But if you can angle the feet out just a touch, it may help. But I think because it's a robot, you're probably all right. You're getting some really strong contrapposto going on in the spine here. So like this shoulder dips a lot, and this one raises a lot. This hip raises a lot, and this one dips a lot. And so you get a really strong angle. Let me see if I can get my have a screen draw tool on here somewhere. Yes. Okay. So when you do that, you get like these really strong angles. And I think you could considering this is a robot, um, it's feeling a little feminine. And I'm not sure that if that's what you're going for, that's fine. I just kind of want to point out that it's kind of got a feminine feel to it. A feminine walk, you usually get much more shift from side to side and up and down on the hips. And then when you're countering that really strongly with the shoulders, it just makes it feel a little bit more feminine than neutral. And so if that's what you're going for, there's nothing wrong with that. I just kind of wanted to point that out as an observation. Um, let's look at the side view. Okay, so okay, so for me, this is just me. I usually lock the knee just a touch more, and that may be that you push the hips up. I don't know why I thought that this was a phenomenal. It's obviously the character's kind of slouching, so it's a little bit of a morose or melancholy walk. So that's not always a bad thing to have the knee bent a little bit, but consider um, if this were a vanilla walk, you would want to sort of straighten this knee out a little bit, maybe rotate that hip back or heel back. Having said that, um, yeah, I actually think it's working pretty well. Because of that, you're kind of maybe dipping your toe a little more than is necessary on your up pose. So I'm assuming about there is probably your up pose. So maybe not dip it quite that much and kind of keep it a little flatter because it's almost a little bit more of a flat foot walk. Like if you're walking up a hill, then your contact will be with your knee a little bent, a little more bent. Um, and so maybe consider just not dragging that toe quite so sharply as it comes up, um, just a little bit. So I think your push off on the ground there is feeling pretty good. I'm looking at the back heel now. I think that's actually feeling pretty good. And so overall, this is pretty good. This is pretty solid. So I would maybe consider just a couple of those tweaks, like the biggest one being the for me the really strong contrapposto, and maybe just pulling back a touch on that. Because right now, just I guess just a note, it's feeling like um, sad feminine walk. And so that's all right. But if you want to pull some of that feminine out of it, I would sort of play with that. Otherwise, I'm not really. And I think the toe drag thing. I would have the toes a little less draggy as it's coming forward, mainly on the right foot. That's my only real two notes on those. So let's watch the weight test here. I think I have a few more notes on this one. Okay, so I had to watch this one a while before I caught on to what it was that wasn't feeling right to me. And it's right here. And you have it on each step, so like all this stuff before is looking good. This push into it. Well, so there's a couple things. I'll come back to this, but we'll start with the push into it here. The body's leaning in like it's pushing, but the spine's still staying in the same curve. So it's still just kind of staying with this curve, right? And so one of the things you can actually get out of a reversal, like if the character is leaning in to push and the spine is like that, but then when they actually start adding weight to it, you sort of do a reversal of the spine and sort of push it up like that, you're going to feel that change in force there. And I think that change in force is going to add a little bit more. It's going to make it feel like the hips are pushing forward and the spine is almost buckling under it. It doesn't have to do the reversal, but I like the reversal personally because I think that's how people usually push. You could also just increase this instead of making it that curve. You make it more like that curve, like it really got much tighter. Like the idea is if you got these 2 points and you're applying, this is your hips, this is your shoulders, and you're applying forward or force upward this way. So I'm trying to draw with a mouse. And this is hitting something, then you're going to get a little bit of a collapse there. So I think if you flip it, you get that reversal collapse, and I think that that's a little bit stronger. So maybe consider doing that. But you could also do it this way with just compressing the original curve a little bit too. Um, so that's the first thing I noticed. The second thing, the thing that's making this box not feel as heavy, is even though the character is leaning in here, when the box actually starts sliding, it feels like the torso pretty much stays in the same spot, and it's the elbows that's pushing it forward. So do you see that? How the elbows kind of are what's driving it. And I know what you're going for is that feel like it's like as he's pushing forward, the elbows are locking out. The problem with that is the torso is not moving forward with it. Okay, so the torso does its movement forward there, and then it's almost like you've planted your torso and then the rest of the motion is coming from your elbows. So I think your torso needs to move forward and you need to be able to keep your chest closer in here. Let's see if I can possibly do this with a marker. A little bit closer in here, like this. And that way, even as the box moves, the character, it's almost like the hips move forward a little bit and the chest kind of is still in there pushing that. And if you get that happening at the same time as the arms are pushing out, then you may be able to sell it. But the fact that the chest itself doesn't really seem to move as much when the box starts sliding forward makes it feel like all of that motion is happening from the elbows. And so to be able to move just with your forearm and elbow and upper arm, to be able to move this entire box, it just makes that box not feel as heavy. So you get that, like that's feeling really good there. It pushes into it. I think maybe I would still roll the chest back just a little bit in that. And then again, the elbows do from like here on, the elbows do most of that push. And so you really just need to kind of keep the chest and the back pushing on that as well. Like you have it working good at the beginning here, but it's like it just kind of dies. And it may be something simple as um, having the hips continue forward a little bit more as the box starts moving, and maybe just adding a little bit more of that spine bend. So I think those are the two things that I think would really help is having the chest be part of that push and the hips be part of that push, not just all in the elbow, and sort of getting some sort of reversal or compression in the spine to kind of show that force happening. Otherwise, though, this one's looking good too. It's very smoothed and polished. Like you got some good polish in here, and you got some pretty good timing too. So I mean, this one's coming along. Those are very small, nitpicky notes, but I do think that those will help kind of sell the weight for this piece. So I believe that's all you sent me. Yeah, so we got the 3 walks and the weight test. Again, sorry this took me so long. If you have any more questions, though, anything else you want me to look at, send them along. I will get to them much earlier. I've just been doing a lot of grading lately, and so it's kind of gotten behind and everything. So, yeah, send it along, and I'll let you know, or I'll give you some more feedback on it. So, cool. Thanks.